it is good to have you back, and it's about time I do introduction of guests. With me in the studio, I have Chidia Chike, a public affairs analyst and director of Reclaim Nigeria. Many thanks for being with us today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
So, the last governorship election, which was contested in 28 states, 26 results have already been declared, with NNPP having won one state, that's Kano State, Labour Party winning one state, Abia State, APC winning 15, PDP 9, and the remaining 2 inconclusive, although the Inec already promised that the election will be redone in this state. So we await the result. But while we are still processing this, let us take a look of the governorship election winners in various states. We'll be right back. Please stay with us. Yeah, it is good to have you back. Big congratulations to the governors that have won these seats. We wish them best of luck in their administration spanning the next 4 years. But let us now get into this topic directly. We are looking at the 2023 election, issues with Inec, gender, ethnicity, and religion, and how all of these factors have come to play in the 2023 governorship and State House of Assembly election. So, because I know that you had your eyes and ears to the ground for the election, how would you rate the 2023 governorship and state assembly election?
It was a scandal. It was a scandal. It was an outrage. It was demeaning. It was humiliating for Nigerians. And the responses, domestic responses, the responses by Nigerians and the international community, not just the domestic observers, the international observers, the reports that they gave with regards to this election, says it all about the character and the nature of the election that has just taken place. And some of us feel violated. I personally feel violated because several times you guys in the media would ask us whether we think, maybe because of our relationship, within the democratic space with Inec, as civil society organizations who are interested in good governance, election being an essential part of the of governance issues, we've had to relate with Inec at various levels, whether the state level, local government level, national level. Under the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room, I am a member of Reclaim Niger, an organizational member of Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room. So we've had over the years engaged consistently with Inec and other stakeholders within the system. And we've had very high level Inec officials, either current recs or past recs, coming to make presentations to us, and then we grill them on what is going on within the system with regards to elections. And then Festus Okoye, the spokesperson for INEC, the same thing. We've also had interactions with the deputy director of ICT that's in charge of the beavers. So at every turn we have engaged with them. We have been on election, on election observation. We have given our reports. We have given instances or reasons for. Based on our findings, we have made recommendations to INEC on areas we think they should improve. We have praised them when we should praise them. We fought for them for INEC for these beavers, for the use of technology, because we're thinking that yes, if it is well applied, it's going to be a game changer. And all the other things that have happened. The issue of first line charge. So that a year before elections, all monies that should accrue to INEC are given to INEC. We have done all of these things. So when you guys in the media take us up on the extent of the state of preparation of INEC, we have always said that we feel that this INEC is ready to do the right thing, is ready to conduct a good election. And secretly, some of us naively, and that's why I say we feel violated, because it is like they took our faith and just threw it inside the dustbin. We have spoken about our expectations about the election based on the feedback we got from them. That this, and just recently, just today, I stumbled into a conversation by the INEC chairman recently, where he was promising that he believes that this election will be the best in the history of this country. What an irony. We're listening. And then again, we were also misled by our president, Muhammadu Buhari, because of the various promises and assurances he had been giving, not just to Nigerians, but to members of the international community, telling members of the United Nations General Assembly in his last appearance there, that he was going to conduct under him, that Nigeria will conduct a very good and credible election. He said that to his peers at the ECOWAS. I think maybe the last meeting he'll be attending with the ECOWAS. So all of these things, the consistency of his talk and his promises and his assurances also gave some of us, some belief, made some of us believe that perhaps this president, in spite of his failures in every other aspect of governance, which I cannot applaud, because that's what we're seeing. The things he promised, the economy, the fighting corruption, the insecurity, and the rest. That in spite of these failures, that perhaps this might be just one area where he will excel. And once he's able to do that, then Nigerians are ready, are prepared to perhaps forgive him to some extent for some of the failures that we have witnessed under his administration. And so what did we see? An election that I will see. And that's why I was saying that, look, Maurice Iwu has lived under the shadow of the worst conducted election in the history of this country before he was removed, before he had to go, Maurice Iwu. So every other election that went wrong in this country, we would always say, if you remember the expression, you want to do wuru-wuru, that took a name, a bearing from Maurice Iwu, they want to manipulate the system. But I think that Maurice Iwu can now rest secure in the knowledge that an election has been conducted that is far better than the election that he himself organized.
Okay,
So that's my take of this election.
Would that really be fair to INEC? Because they came up with excuses like this is the reason why this did not go well. I think one of the reasons why a lot of Nigerians are angry with INEC is because of failure to upload on RF portal immediately from polling units, and everyone was wondering where are the results. But if we go by INEC's explanation, because we know anything that has to do with humans and machine, it is subject to glitches. Could we not look at all this and maybe forgive INEC and maybe come to understanding that maybe this is why the election was not up to the standard Nigerians were expecting?
The most fundamental thing, apart from the fact that INEC violated its own rules, because, and that's why we are told that, look, before you tell the other person to remove the log in his eyes, first of all, no, the speck in his eyes, remove the log from your own eyes. So INEC did not abide by its own rule first. And they are giving us reasons why they did not do that, because there was a glitch. There was no glitch. As far as I'm concerned, and as a Nigerian, having followed the elections for so long in this country, that was deliberate sabotage of their system by INEC itself. And I will give you reasons. It does not make sense that you have a machine that is supposed to do certain things. The machine does all of those things. The machine records, the fingerprint, the biometrics. It does it perfectly. Where it fails, the next recourse is the facial recognition. It did it well. The very next one was the voting itself. That was okay. And then they now started the process of uploading of the result. It had no problem, no glitch. The same machine, the same time frame, the same period, being operated by the same people. There was no glitch in uploading the House of Representatives result. There was no glitch in uploading the senatorial results. But when it came to the presidential result, it could not upload. It cannot be glitch because apart from what we know already, there was testimony across the entire length and breadth of this country, and you must have seen a lot of them, where INEC officials who were mandated to upload the results were saying when it came to the presidential results that they were not given the code for upload.
Some said no network.
The network, that's what we're saying. The network providers, I think I read one or two places where they said there was no problem with the network. Don't forget that it is the same network. That's what I'm saying. That there's no excuse. For us to have even bought this. And that's why, you see, sometimes, a thief always makes mistakes. Somebody who commits evil, always somewhere along the line, there is a mistake that he has made. That he does not succeed in covering all his tracks. Why do you think that even the best plans, whether to commit a crime, to murder somebody, whatever it is, how do you think that the police are able to unravel, the crime and catch the offenders at the end of the day? They look out for mistakes that have been made somewhere along the line. Places, places that the offender did not cover, the criminal did not succeed in covering. They unearth all of those things. So what they should have done is to shut down, the same way they shut down the uploading for the presidential election, to shut that of the House of Representatives, shut down that of the senatorial results. And once they do that, and then they can make any claim that they want to make. You understand? And so it becomes very difficult for them to make this claim because the other two worked and then one did not work at the same period, the same time that these things were being uploaded. So how is it possible? So network cannot be an issue. It does not make sense, and it is not an issue because that was deliberate. Once they saw, some people saw the direction that election was going, they had to act fast. So they didn't have time for any finesse and all that. So they had to act fast. So this essentially is what happened on the day of the election. And then that's the one that involves INEC. And there was another thing we said. INEC, immediately that happened, I knew again that the beavers will work to upload all the results in the subsequent election. He knew, I knew. Because sometimes, they say lightning does not strike twice. INEC didn't want to be accused. They had done the perfidy in the very first election, the most important, for whatever motivation. The most important, the target was the presidential election. And so after having done that, it was about prioritization, which is more important. So they picked the one that was more important and risked the ire and the anger of Nigerians to do that. But the very next election, I knew it was going to be, all the results would be uploaded. And that is exactly what we saw.
Well,
so how did I know?
Could we not say that that was seeing the problems that came with the first one and trying to perfect it so that a recurrence does not take place?
What are they going to perfect when they say it's a glitch, that it is beyond human control? So, well, so that's what it means. If it's already beyond, but we're saying, okay, it worked well because the glitches is not, but I have already said, and don't also forget, you see what they were trying to do, and that's why it's unfortunate. Because the most important aspect of what happens that's most important at the, with this election is what happens at the polling unit. Everything about the election, whether it is House of Assembly, presidency, houses of assembly, state and national, it's everything that happens at the polling unit. Because you cannot have collated results at the state headquarters of INEC or at the ward if those results do not come from the polling unit. You cannot have any result at Abuja or announce any result if they did not come from the polling unit. So the issue was interfere with the results from the polling units. That was what happened. The attacks that you saw, the violence that you saw, were targeted at the various polling units in the country, not at the collation centers, because that is where the mischief is done. Stop this upload of results. And I will tell you something. I won't mention the name, but it's a very popular, rec. We met in Abuja in November of last year at the airport when I was coming back to Lagos. We had just gone for a national dialogue on the 2023 election. The security agencies were invited, civil society organizations like ours. It was organized by the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room, as well as the INEC chairman. The INEC chairman was there. One of the things he said, lastly, one of the last things he said was to emphasize that polling unit results will be uploaded at the polling units, that Nigerians can rest assured that that is what they are going to do. Of course, there are statements he has made like that I will see on social media. But this is the one I heard because it was important to me. So on the day I was going back, I think the following day or 2 days later, I ran into this former rec at the airport. And we know ourselves, civil society and all that. And he heard me and he said, look, Achike, you people must make sure, Nigerians must make sure that polling unit results are uploaded at the polling units. Because if they are taken away from the polling units to the ward, then that is the end of the result, of a credible result. And this is what, so he knew, he had an idea that this was what was going to happen. So when you take away the power of the people, and don't forget what happens at the polling unit, it's critical. That the people who voted have to authenticate the results. So it's not just an INEC thing. It's not just the, so when, and you see when results are being counted, Nigerians are there and they are counting with them. And after counting, the agents of the political parties, they sign, they collect their copies, and then they paste this, which they did not do for the presidential election. They didn't do it. They didn't paste. That's another infraction. You understand? They didn't. Then you paste it. So people were denied that power to authenticate the result from each of the polling units. They were denied in every part of the country with regards to the presidential election.
So, Under, speaking about Nigerians and the role they've played in this election, and when we are talking about violence, it is still the same Nigerians who went to polling units, disrupt, arm voters and prevent voters from voting. Because when we're talking about why the 2020-2023 election did not really live up to expectations, are Nigerians not a factor we are supposed to consider with the role they play in hindering the smooth sailing of this election?
Yes. There are two Nigerians. The patriotic Nigerians. The Nigerians who have hope, even though over the years they have come to believe that this country is beyond redemption, that the country is gone. But somehow a few things happen within the system that gave them some hope, that perhaps maybe there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, and that we should explore the possibility of making this light shine brighter. So these were there. These were the people that answered the clarion call for patriotism, to go to the polling units, to exercise their franchise, and to be able to play a role in determining what kind of government they would have in the country. Then there's the other group of Nigerians also, unpatriotic, ignorant, also victims of the system. Don't forget, they are victimizers, but they are also victims of the system, because the politicians are also using them. Politicians who have robbed them blind. Politicians who have not provided the basis for education of these Nigerians. Nigerians who are not conscious of their political rights and duties are answer the clarion call of these dangerous politicians, of these politicians that have robbed us of our our resources and sense of dignity as a people that should be proud of their country. So these are the two Nigerians. One wants to project, or one projects hope in the system. The other one, at the instance of their paymasters, you know, are negating everything that can make a country great. So we agree. So in as much as we want to berate these victimizers and who are also victims, under the control of politicians who must beat people black and blue in order to govern them, who must terrorize people in order to provide for their welfare, because that is the contradiction of these politicians. No wonder, and all of them, all of them, or most of them, who have committed the atrocities of this election are con men and armed robbers. And I will tell you this, so it's not just me calling them con men and armed robbers. Goodluck Jonathan, that is the way he described them, the former president of this country. And if there's any Nigerian that is in a position that has that sense of entitlement and justification to, you know, to describe any set of Nigerians in that manner, he is the one. Because he contested an election for the presidency of this country when he was an incumbent, when he had the paraphernalia of office, when he had the means of coercion under his control and authority to sabotage that election for his own personal interest, to satiate his own political interest. He did not do that. Even when his own people were pushing him for that, he said, he made a statement that forever remains a word on marble, that my political ambition is not worth the blood of a single Nigerian. And he entered into immortality by that statement. So he said that anybody, any politician that uses rigging and violence to access political power or to get into office is a con man and an armed robber. So now that the elections are done, what we have across the country, whether presidency, whether Senate, state, National House of Assembly, State House of Assembly, governors, what you're going to have across the length and breadth of this country are con men and armed robbers. Because some of these people, or many of these people, came into the house where they are householders. They came into the house through the back door or through the back window. That is what has happened.
And still talking about election, let us quickly take a look on the role ethnicity played, because We saw tribalism, we saw it play out for this election, and unfortunately, 2023 election is gone. Now, for the coming election, how would you rate the importance of zoning? And perhaps this issue of tribalism would not be a problem, because there were records of some tribesmen who were told that if you belong to this tribe, then you cannot vote in this particular polling unit. So perhaps if we add zoning, like it was made compulsory for all political parties, like, look, you have to zone to this region, you have to do this. How do you think that would impact, perhaps be a soothing balm for some tribesmen who have not been in power for a very long time?
You know, I think we'll be running away from reality, but I understand your question because there's a certain dilemma, you know, involved in the question you're asking. Obviously, you want solutions. Obviously, you are upset by what has happened, by the division in the land, you know, and so you are trying to look for a way out of it. But I think we are running away from the situation. The political class, this has been their playbook. This is what they have always done. Most sadly, in this country, they have always played up our fault lines: religion, geopolitics, ethnicity, as a basis for competing in national elections or elections anywhere, you know, and at all levels. You can imagine somebody suddenly not becoming part of an ethnic group by virtue of his mother being from another tribe, or the wife being from another tribe or ethnic group. So what do you want him to do? To disclaim his mother, to disassociate from his mother because the mother has become a burden to him, to his political ambition, you know, and to alienate the mother from himself. He didn't choose his mother. That choice was made by a force bigger than him. Irebami, you didn't choose your ethnic group. That choice was made by a force beyond you. My name could have been Etunde, or Akin, or Ulu. Your name could have been Afyon or Ekaite. It wasn't your choice. Your maker did not consult with you to ask you where you are going to come from. The people that are causing this mayhem could have been Chukwudi or Chukwuka or Mojid or Abubakar. You see, that is how ridiculous this is. How terrible what we are trying to do to ourselves is. You know, but then again, these things happen year in, year out, every 4 years, especially in Lagos. It happens everywhere. It's not a Lagos thing. We saw mindless violence in parts of the country. Enugu, Imo State, Rivers, Kano State, Ogun State. It's the mindset of the politicians. And the politicians have always been the weakest link in our democratization process. And that is a very strange thing to say. Because they are the ones, they are supposed to be the greatest beneficiaries of politics. Even when they lose. Because when they lose, they wait and do their work, homework better, so that next time they hope to get in there. But they are the ones that are endangering our democracy more than any set or any group of people in this country. Today we are having coups all over the West African sub-region. In Guinea, in Burkina Faso, other places. Why do you think we have coups? You can condemn the coups as much as you like. Even civil society normally that should condemn coups in Guinea, embrace the military. Why? Because a military government is an aberration to democracy. They have no space in our democracy. But you find a situation where the civilian presidents and the civilian governments that we've had in West Africa have been the bane of their people and their countries. They have misgoverned their countries so badly, to the extent that even though civilians hate the soldiers interfering in their government, but when the soldiers come in, they see them as liberators. That should not be the case. So the ethnic profiling, I think, is bad. Not that I think. It is insidiously bad. It is perfidious. And the people that are behind it are not well. And I'm using my word carefully. I've thought about it. They have a criminal disposition. And they cannot be well. They cannot be well when you consider what happened in Rwanda. One of the greatest tragedies in human history. 1 million people killed in the most gruesome manner in a space of 90 days, Rebami. You know what that translates to? 10,000 people hacked down on a daily basis. Men, women, children. No wonder, fella, you have to respect that prophet, fella Nicola Bokuti. He said, he was talking about animals who are in human skin. You see them, and he described it well. Animali putu suto, animali wear agbada, animali wear iputu tayo. They dress well. They go to meetings. They speak well. And you respect them. Because they are big men, they have it. Some of them have education. But what are they? They are not humans. They are animals. So the people that are creating this injustice against the Nigerian people, the politicians who have created this situation in the first place, and then when they want to get to power, they now realize that, look, we need to divide these people. Otherwise, we will not get votes from our catchment areas. Those people are absolutely not well. They are not normal. Because when you want to pit a people against themselves and you know that the consequences will be severe, that people will end up hacking each other down. Friends versus friends. It's a frenzy. Because it's like a different spirit takes over. Where you see your neighbors, where you have been eating all this while, where you have been in the best relationship with them, suddenly they become your enemies. Nigerians can take care of themselves. Nigerians can interact with themselves and have always interacted with themselves in a peaceful manner, in a mutually respectful manner, in a mutually beneficial manner. The only times that you see this enmity, you see a change in their perception of their fellow Nigerians, is when the politicians have come into the fray.
But from what you've said, could we safely infer that Nigeria might not be ready for democracy? Because as good as democracy is, government of the people, by the people, for the people, majority wins. And if the whole basis of democracy is majority wins, and we know that that is a very weak link, because politicians might go to any extent to make sure that they have the majority vote. And from the explanations you've given so far, so is it safe to infer that perhaps Nigeria might not be ready for democracy?
Look, you know what is happening, because we must also put it in context. And that is not an excuse. Nigeria is still evolving. Some of the great countries of the world today whose democracies we are copying have been there for hundreds of years practicing democracy. And they are not yet there. They are still evolving. But it's not an excuse at all under any circumstance. Because those countries started from nowhere. And then, you know, so democracy is organic. I mean, they started, you know, from different, they went through all kinds of, you know, problems. You talk about the French Revolution of, is it 1789 revolution, where the kingship was completely, uprooted. The king himself, Louis XIV, Le Roi Soleil, the Sun King, was beheaded, the wife beheaded, and so many other things, and there was total upheaval. The people versus the rich, elites and all that, the bourgeois and all that. And so it's a process, like I'm trying to say. And another thing that we should also consider is the fact that countries where you have democracies in transition, Nigeria is a democracy in transition. That phase of transition is always a very dangerous phase because they can get it wrong, especially when you have bad political actors. So there's always a tendency for violence, which to a very large extent we have also seen. But if you say it is not democracy, then what? Feudalism that happened how many centuries ago? Military dictatorship that we have also experienced, and we say, no, we cannot accept this anymore. Look, we have problems in the country.
Perhaps monarchy.
The monarchy. But monarchy, you're going to have problems. Because you're not going to have as much as maybe 200 and 250 different monarchies. Everybody now breaks down, and Nigeria, as you know it, breaks down completely. So what are you now going to do? Now people, look, we have not built a nation first. The reason why this is happening is that we have not built a nation. And so when you hear this debate about national dialogue, national conference, it's all an attempt to build a nation, have a new constitution, state police, and all the other things. Control of resources by the regions, either along regional lines or along state lines, and all that. Reducing the power of the federal government, and devolving power to the, federating units and all that. So these are suggestions that Nigerians have been making because the state is not working. And then, you are not just that the state is not working, the Nigerian state is exceedingly very weak. That's what a lot of people are not considering. So the weakness of the Nigerian state implies that you do not have a cohesive and strong center of gravity that is able to interfere in the right manner to ensure that something like an election, this election, for instance, goes well by deploying security forces who do not have loyalty to politicians but have loyalty to the Nigerian state. So what you have, Obama, when he came to Nigeria, was talking about building strong institutions and not strong men. Unfortunately, Nigeria is governed and controlled by strong men, not strong institutions. That's why Oluomo is stronger than the commissioner of police in the state. That's why you have some of these other political actors. No, I'm coming. No. I will give a context. I will give a context. That's why some of these other political actors are stronger than commissioner for police in those places. In practice, ideally, they are not stronger. They cannot be stronger than the commissioner of police. They cannot be stronger than police institutions and security institutions. They are not stronger. But it is because these institutions are beholden on the politicians. Look, an example, the Yusuf Mohammed, the DSS told Nigerians when the DSS years ago was under pressure about Boko Haram and all of these things. They said that we had this man in our custody at a time in Abuja because we had seen that he was a danger. We had infiltrated his movement and knew where they were going. And we kept him up, we arrested him and took him out of circulation. But they got a call. This is in the public domain. So it's not, I'm not just making statements. They got a call from the authorities that he should be released. So if I say that some people like Oluomo and all these other miscreants that are causing trouble all over the country are more powerful than the police, it is not because truly they are more powerful than the police. It doesn't take the police. 5 seconds to crush them. It doesn't take them, it takes nothing. It doesn't take anything from them to ensure that when you make statements that are divisive, that are dangerous for the society, that they pick them up. They don't pick them up because the politicians are in charge and in control. That's why I said that the greatest threat to our democracy are the politicians. But Nigerians of goodwill must resist these people. So we cannot leave, people were tearing their PVCs. They were angry, they were disappointed, they were disillusioned, they were saddened, and all that. But look, Irebami, what is happening in Nigeria should be understood by Nigerians. It is a fight between the forces of good and evil, between darkness and light. We must be that light. We must be those forces of good. We know that darkness can never overcome the light. It's only for a period of time. We will find our fate in this country. Our people that are abroad, who ran away out of frustration, not because they hated this country, will come back to this country to help to rebuild our nation. And these people will be Yorubas, they will be Igbos, they will be Hausas, they will be Calabas. They will be majority, they will be minority. This country will be rebuilt. It is said that it is at the darkest point of night that dawn breaks. And so, when mourning will eventually be overtaken by rejoicing, we are sad, we are not happy with what has gone on in our country. But we cannot give up on this country.
Yes, we won't. And if we continue talking about the past election, I fear we will completely run out of time. So let's take a short break and go to, well, not lesser, but something of utmost importance, and that is the NLC planned strike that is supposed to commence this coming Wednesday. So let's take a break and listen to Joe Ajeri and what he has to say about that, and then we'll quickly give you our final remarks. Please stay with us.